What's up, Chad? It's your boy. I'm just going to share my truth. Um, so, I left my job in 2024 because I was being mistreated.
Listen, I give up.
Comfortable apartment and everything I need. I wasn't chasing big dreams or trying to impress anybody. I was happy with my simple life. Sure, I'd always dreamed of having a game room like the ones I saw on YouTube, but I knew that if I never got it, I'd still be content. I don't have an expensive taste because of where I come from, which says a lot about me. Growing up, poverty was pretty common in my hometown, so I decided to move 500 miles away from everything.
He's not going to last.
I left my family, my life, and everything I was attached to behind. I went back to grab my games later, of course. I started my job when I was younger and worked my way up over time. I followed the typical millennial path because no company I've ever worked for has ever followed through on their promises to promote within, despite clearly saying they did.
Like in Star Wars, men are destined to become their father, and then have consensual sex with their sister.
But I also loved my work. I loved what I did because it gave me a sense of purpose. So I went above and beyond to fit the company's expectations and make a good living. I got to pursue my hobbies in my free time and collect and play games. You see, I'm a physical collector. I still have my games from my parents' house when I was a kid. I even have my receipts from Blockbuster in the games to remember because I always liked the mementos. My PS3 and 360 stuff, I never made it from when I was on my own as a teen, but the PS4 I traded them for still lives, believe it or not. Having the game in my hand was like holding another world. It let me reminisce about my past and forget about it for a while. I've always been a bit of a cynic about the world, but I always thought that if you don't have a solution and you're just complaining, you're just making things worse. So I learned to keep my mouth shut a lot of the time. But now with my YouTube channel, I'm starting to open up a bit more. It's not that bad now. Anyway, let me tell you about how I got into gaming. It all started when my parents got divorced when I was younger.
I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma.
My mom's new boyfriend brought over a PlayStation and a few games like Tenchu, Triple Play 2000, and Die Hard. I had never played any of those before, but I was hooked. I spent hours playing those games. I worked hard at my job for years, just like I had at my previous jobs. I tried to fit in with the company's expectations, but eventually things started to get to me. I was driving a lot, working long hours, and I wasn't getting paid enough. But I didn't mind because I was treated well. But then things changed. The company announced a big pay cut, and my hours were cut too. They wanted me to do more work, but they wouldn't pay me more for it. And it was a tough situation. But I managed to stay positive. I knew that I had a special set of skills, and I was determined to use them to make a difference.
I love you, not your money or your car or your house or your skills in bed.
They didn't even care about my health. They tried to bring in HR to make me explain my health problems. I was having a full-blown panic attack from being on the road for so long over the years, from being awake and working certain hours that still don't make sense to me to this day. HR had to put them in check, but in the end, I made them look like fools. Both my bosses, just for calling them out on what they were doing, how they were treating me differently. They didn't like that very much, as they asked me to do things other employees wouldn't do and vice versa. It was like they were playing favorites. I was officially on their radar, whether I liked it or not. My days were numbered, but the speed at which the numbers were running and the feeling like I was going to give up were two different speeds. One was running significantly faster by this point. So I decided to confront them about their actions. They were really messing with someone who, at this point, had nothing left to lose. I never had much to gain in the first place as long as I could afford what little I wanted. But when they decided to make it not worth it anymore, it was a drastic change. If they weren't willing to work with my schedule so I could fit in more money or my passions in life, then there would be no point.
Amusing, but pointless.
So we had a talk. I gave them a 2 weeks' notice, and in typical corporate fashion, they let me go way before that was up. But guess what? My coworkers were sure to contact me right after I left, letting me know that it freed up the budget for hours and pay on my team. I wasn't doing what I loved, and I never really was happy. I realized it was all just pretending to make ends meet. I'm not struggling anymore, though after years of doing the same thing, I also don't want things that people my age typically do. The American dream, if it hasn't turned into a nightmare by now, had a different look to me. It wasn't about struggling. I got there for the most part, but I wanted to do what I loved, and that's making content for you that you enjoy. And I encourage you, if you're doing something you don't love,
That leads to the dark side.
be smart. Look up on YouTube how you can make every little thing go further. Then the day when people turn on you, if it comes, which I hope it doesn't, you can go do what you love. But I live much more below my means now, and I'm happier. It's a tough break for me to start out on the internet because I've always understood it to be like the workplace. People get very offended, and they're the type to get offended. Yeah, spit venom like a 2K game lobby with a double standard. But I don't get offended much, and I don't ever intend for my content to offend you either. I do little things to make ends meet now, but I don't work near as hard as I used to. I spend more time editing my videos and trying to refine my channel than anything. And it's turned into my passion project. What makes you feel good and excited to live that you carry on as an activity? Comment down below. It's been a strange experience to me in America, finding out that there's more to life than working when it's all I've ever known.